Sasha, I will turn over the mic to you to introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Richard. Our speaker today is on the actual front line in the fight against the epidemic as the Orange County Health Officer. He's an epidemiologist with 2 decades of experience in state, municipal, and community public health. He's in the actual business of saving lives every day here in Orlando, in our neighborhoods, and throughout Orange County. And we thank him for taking the time from his busy schedule to speak to us. Please welcome Dr. Raul Pino.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me over. I have a hard stop at 1 o'clock, so I'm going to try to give you all the data I can in 15 minutes so that you can ask any questions. So I would like to start with where are we today in the pandemic? I'm going to share a few images with you. One is coming. So this is where we are today, and what you've seen there in that graph are the last 14 days. On top of it, in black, the big number, those are the negative tests that we received that day. In the middle is the percentage of positivity rate that day, and in the bottom is the number of positive tests that we have received today, on that day specifically. So in the last 14 days, we have been hovering between the 7.4 to the 9.5%. That has been our room there. And with that, it's a significant decrease for where we were 2 weeks ago with regard to positivity rate. And I will show you that. But what I want to show you with this one is that it has been a consistent but slow decline in the positivity rate. There are a lot of issues with positivity rate, but it's a good measure for the day. I also would like to call your attention to this graph here, and these are our hospitalization data. So we monitor daily the visits to the ER for cough, fever, or shortness of breath. That's the line graph with the 3 colors. In the bottom in blue, you have hospitalizations that day for shortness of breath, for cough-associated admissions. And in the other column, left to the right, you have what we call COVID-like or influenza-like visits to the ER. And those are all declining in some form or shape, which is always a good thing to see after we have been in the hyper stages that we have been in the last 3 weeks. I also want to call your attention to the number of deaths. And we have seen before we got into this accelerated period that we experienced, we only have about 50 deaths. And right now we have 212. So it has been a significant increase in the number of deaths. And this pandemic goes like this. You violate CDC guidelines. 2 weeks later, you see an increase of the number of cases. A week later, you see an increase of visit on the ER. A week later, you see an increase of hospitalizations. 10 days, you see an increase of ICU beds utilization. And then you see an increase in the number of deaths. Just as a data point about the mortality rate in ICU beds for COVID-19 right now is about 50%, which is quite high. I also want to share with you a dashboard that we have access to. Let me see if it comes up. It should be coming up soon. Let's see, share screen, dashboard, share. Now, this is a dashboard that we use to monitor our health systems and see what our bed capacity is. Can be updated twice a day but it updates itself every time that the data points are updated. So in Orange County right now, we have 28,219 overall positive cases during the duration of the pandemic. We have available right now today 952 beds, and we have 430 ventilators available. With regard to ICU beds, we have 86 ICU beds available, 36 pediatrics ICU beds, and we only have 2 long-term care beds. That number was a little bit higher, but it looks like the hospital is starting to discharge to long-term care facilities. Now, this will give you an idea of the pandemic itself and where is our capacity and health services utilization. And it's a good measure and a good data to monitor because it's the one that we are most afraid of it. And it's overwhelming the health system to get into a point that we have to rationalize health. And that will be tragic. So we have a healthy inventory of bed, although it has been an increase lately, and we'll have to see what is happening there. Normally, we will have over 1,000 beds, although the hospitals are open for elective procedures. So in that regard, they will have other businesses to attend. And I would like to share with you this other piece of data that we use a lot. This is a PowerPoint presentation, but I'm going to only share with you a couple of slides. It's quite intense in data. It's coming right now to you if I can find that slide here. This is the total number of hospitalized people for COVID-19. And as you can see in the graph, we started to see a decline in the number of hospitalizations on the last measure, and this was the 28th at 6 p.m. We have 533 people hospitalized for COVID-19 in the county, 571 the measure before. So it's a decline there that is easy. And also for ICU bed utilization, we have seen a slow decline. And on July 28th, we have 94 from 90, the prior measure. And the prior measure to that, we have 104. So with that, I will be open to answer any question that you may want. We have a lot of data, but it's quite too much to bombard anyone at once. Please feel free to ask any questions.
I'd like to ask one.
Sure.
If I see the high positivity rate and all the numbers of people that are getting it, but what are the chances if you check positive for COVID that you're going to be sick enough that you need to go to the hospital?
Well, that's a good question. The CDC is calculating that about 40% of all infections will go asymptomatic. So those people will not experience anything. The last time that we calculated in Orange County was about 20% of all diagnosed cases. But those are diagnosed cases that were asymptomatic. So it's safe to assume that another 20-25% of cases could be in the same situation.
So if you got a little bit of a cough, you should definitely go get tested.
Well, anyone that think that was exposed or at risk should get tested. But we don't recommend right now, because of the delay in testing, any massive efforts to get people to get tested that don't need to, because that will delay the system even more.
It seems like everything I've read nationally, and it probably applies to Florida too, is that well over half of the deaths have occurred in people over 65. And in that group, maybe 80+% have been people well into their 80s. I was just reading that the average lifespan of people in nursing homes, of course, their age is very old. The average lifespan, I think 65% of people die within the first 6 months that are in a nursing home without COVID. And so it seems to me that we don't get this information, and it's not I think that the statistics prove that these are people already sheltered in place for the most part, and to close everything else down because already sick older people are vast majority of the ones dying. This doesn't seem like the right thing to do. And are those statistics pretty well proven out in Florida? Plus, very, very few younger people under 18 get sick and or die. Is that all true?
Yeah, for the most part, it's all true. I'm going to try to show you I'm pulling another data that shows death. In our county, it's more than 50% of those die are over 65 years old. And for the big majority of them, they have pre-existing conditions that, here is the data that I want to share with you. Let me show you this one. Let me bring it up so that I can share it with you. Oh, the thing is acting up a little bit. I will give it some time. But the majority of the huge majority, maybe close to 80%, happen in people over 65 with pre-existing conditions. And that is true, and they should be protected the most. And in our county, we have, in the state actually, the state have made a huge effort in protecting people in assisted living facilities.
If someone tested, let's say I tested positive and I couldn't go back to work until I was negative, and I test, and I'm repeatedly getting tested positive, are they taking, what is the procedure? Are they taking social security numbers? How do they make sure that if somebody goes to like Advent Health one day and Orlando Health the next day and CentraCare the next day, or different facilities, how are they making sure that that's being managed?
Yeah, all the data comes into a centralized point, and that system has the ability to identify double entries. So they collect zip code, name, address, and some other information depending on the lab. Each lab collects, may be a little bit different, but it's a core type of information that gets into the system. And the system, based on birthdays, runs data analysis and determine, okay, all these people have the same birthday. Are they any of them the same person? And then because the system reduces the number, then you can look at 10 people that look very similar and determine if that's an issue, and you have the ability to delete at the test from the data.
Okay, thank you.
I'm wondering if there are any demographics being taken on the people who are dying or getting sick, so that a lot of times when you're saying over 65, you think, well, these are folks who are not working or not really having an impact on the economy, so we don't really have to worry about them as much. I'm not saying that that's true or not true, but I know that that can be a thought. So if there are demographics, I know that, for instance, people over 65 are frequently taking care of families, allowing younger people to work, or sometimes people are still supporting families. So is there a way that demographics are being taken about those people who have gotten sick, who are in the 65 plus range?
Well, we have all the demographics that get collected for every single person. Now, if someone died, we have even more information and access to that information as, the medical examiner developed a record that is very thorough that we can have access to if needed. So yes, that data is collected.
And I appreciate Megan's question earlier, because I had heard that same rumor about positive or double positives that might have been counted. But I've heard another rumor that I'm curious to hear your thoughts on. I've heard a rumor that some people are even getting false positives who haven't actually even been tested. I was told recently by someone that her mother-in-law went in to get a test, registered, but then didn't get tested, and then received notice that she was positive in the mail. And this could just be a rumor, but I'm wondering if you've heard the same, and whether or not there is a report of false positives going out, and how that affects the data.
So I heard that rumor too. And we were yesterday in a call with Representative Demings. She had a town hall meeting, and a person mentioned of two individuals that's happened that they know. And I asked the person to send me the information, name and birthday of those individuals so I can search for it. We heard about it. I haven't seen it, but it doesn't mean that it has not happened. But I heard the rumor, if you want to call it, or of the comments around. But I will need to have a birthday and a name of an individual so that I can talk to that individual, look into the system, realize that the individual was there, see what happened, because if that happened, that's an issue. But I don't see it happening much, but I heard so much of the rumor that I'm concerned it's either really, really true, or it's just one of those conspiracy theories that is going around that no one can ever prove. But again, I asked the individual yesterday to forward me the names and birthday, if the person authorized, so that we can do some search and see what happened.
Doctor, thank you so much for your information. Can you tell us pretty much what antibody testing is out there that is reliable, and by what company or by what laboratory?
The new machines by AVA seems to be the ones that people are talking the more about it. We have not been able to get our hands on those. As you can imagine, they are very in high demand. It's getting better. The results are getting better. So it will have a great impact if we have the ability to do that. But with antibody, on the infection period that we are in the pandemic, we are less concerned. What we like to get our hands is the antigen testing. We would like to get it before antibody. From a pandemic point of view, people who already had the pandemic are not that critical from the epi analysis that you need to do to have a realization of how the pandemic is going. But it's critical to know also that someone has developed antibodies, as we are encouraging people to donate plasma so that we can help convalescent plasma to help those who are in ICU bed.
Thank you, Dr. Pino, for a great presentation. My question is that I'm out in the public a lot still with my campaigning. How often should I get myself tested?
So I don't think that is that. I will say in a case like yours, probably weekly would be a good thing. If you are out campaigning and forced to interact with people, campaigning, political activities about interacting with people. So although I hope you are taking measures to protect yourself and protect others, testing weekly or bi-weekly will not be too crazy.
Doctor, again, thanks for being with us. There's been some discussion on and off about the fact that perhaps the coronavirus is not as lethal as the worldwide traditional flu virus that we get every year. I'm not debating yes or no, but what is your take on that? How lethal is coronavirus against traditional flus?
I don't think that we will know that answer until we have better, more comprehensive data and look back to it. Right now, flu is close to 2%. Some people are saying that coronavirus is either 4 or 5 or a little bit higher than that. But also, we don't know the total universe of the infected population because we don't have a universal strategy for testing. So it could be that it's a lot lower in the sense that it could be more infected people out there in the community that we don't know about it. So what I'm trying to say, there are a number of people out there that have been positive that we don't know about it. Yes, for sure.
Yeah, this is timely and helpful information. My question goes back to, we've tracked the total number of cases, but we don't really talk about the active cases. Obviously, somebody who had it in March doesn't have it anymore, assuming they're still with us. So what is the real active cases in Florida or in Orange County at the moment?
So that's a very good question. Um, the the exact number, we try not to give it. And I'm going to tell you why. And it's because we really don't know it. In the sense that we can only calculate and assume that people who have been infected in the last 14 days are within the infectious period. And those are the numbers that we offer that we call recovery rate. Right now, 76% of all people that had COVID-19 in our county has recovered. But that number changes daily. So, because, you know, what is recovery? Is a recovery that you are out of the infectious period, or is a recovery that you have no secondary effects from the disease? And that's the debate. So we prefer to call people who are within the infectious period, which is all the people that we have seen in the last 14 days.
Dr. Pino, first let me give a shout out to Laverne Simmons-Lassane, your associate. She's exceptional and has done great work on your behalf. The second question, the second point is this. I've heard a lot of rumors about different kinds of medication, home medication, over-the-counter medication. I've heard rumors about testing. I've heard rumors about the COVID being a conspiracy. Can you give us an overview of the medical things you support and the ones you have eliminated? Or how do you address all of these rumors, conspiracies, and false medical information being circulated?
So let me say first that I'm not involved in clinical care. So people directly involved in clinical care would be best to answer that question in details. Now, with regard to treatment, the treatments that are out there that are being supported, remdesivir is one that has been highly used with a great effectiveness. It was a medication that was initially developed for HIV, and it was never put out into the market, although it was FDA approved, and there was no market for it. But this time has become very handy. And our system, our infectious disease doctor love it. Another treatment that has been used with some level of success is convalescent plasma, and providing people who are experiencing the infections with the antibodies that someone else had developed. So that gives them really a start up in fighting the infection. Now, there is no specific treatment for COVID-19. These two have been designed, and for the remdesivir, there is a short approach and a longer approach in the number of dosage that individual receive. And beside that, they treat the complications depending on what are those. And listen, it's not a conspiracy theory. People are dying from it. I wish it was a conspiracy theory.
Question regarding the football stadiums. Attendance at UCF Stadium is about 40,000. Attendance at downtown stadium is about 70,000 during the game. How will this be handled? Because it appears that the final determination is going to be from your office.
Statistics about mass gathering, because mass gathering have been banned everywhere that coronavirus has been. Right now, it's not in the plans to open mass gathering in the near future. That would be suicidal.
Thank you, Dr. Pino. My question is, given what we know and where we are today, what is the strategy to recover from the virus going forward?
So until we have an immunization, a vaccine, an effective vaccine, or an effective treatment, we are going to be as we are at this level. Now, they have said that a vaccine could come before December. But even if vaccine comes before December, we will have a period where we have to immunize. And in our case, we have 1.3 million people in the county. So it will take us some time to immunize. And I believe some priority is going to be developed and who will get immunized first. So I think that even if we have a vaccine in December, let's say we have an effective vaccine in December, it will take us about 6 months probably to get to a place where you see a reduction, a significant reduction of the number of cases below 1% with effective vaccine. and treatment.
Great, thank you very much.
The update from UCF, what we are doing. So then we are detecting the COVID-19 in the breath. That's in the clinical trial now. And also we are making a PCR machine to home use with the sampling system, which doesn't require any specialist. And also we are making a total different genetic approach to kill the COVID-19, because a vaccine may take time, and also this virus is RNA virus. They're going to mutate a lot. So then the vaccine may not work for many long periods. But this genetic approach can totally kill the virus genetically. So then hopefully this is going to be the answer for the cure. That's from UCF.
Thank you, Kimmy. Dr. Pino, I have one question. I monitor the stats for Orange County every day, and today it came out and it was consistent with what you showed, that there's 813 cases in Orange County is what was posted for today. Plus there was 40 people that were non-residents. And so I figured that was 853 total people that have been hospitalized in Orange County. And today there have been 212 deaths in Orange County. Now I know they didn't all die in the hospital, and I know a lot of people in the hospital got out, but that number, 212, happens to be 25% of the 853. So I've monitored those numbers.
You're too smart. You're too smart for that data. So that data, the number of hospitalization, the hospitalization data that you see in the dashboard, it doesn't mean people hospitalized, and that's a little trick there. What it means is number of tests that has been ordered from people that were hospitalized.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Now you assume that that will give you an idea of who was hospitalized, because everyone who gets hospitalized get tested. But again, our number of people hospitalized over the life of the pandemic is higher than 800.
Okay, I'll give it back to Dick.
Dr. Pino, thank you so much for joining us. We know your office is as busy as can be and your time is precious, so we really appreciate your being with us and providing the information and the opportunity to ask questions that you did. So perhaps we'd like to have you back later in the fall or at some future juncture when the course of the pandemic has changed, or something new has developed to tell us what to do in a new scenario. So with that, thank you so much. Our speaker for next week is David Ricky, an attorney addressing how not to get sued, ideas for employers. David currently focuses practice on sexual harassment and workers' compensation, but has quite a history of dealing with those kinds of lawsuits. I would like to note that Congressman Daniel Webster had joined us. I don't know if he's still on the call, but if he is, welcome, Congressman. We appreciate you joining us, as we do appreciate each and every one of our guests. We had about 90 guests today, so thank you all for joining us. And with that, it's time for us to end our meeting. So remember, do business with Rotarians. And now of the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Is it fun?
Good. All right. Thank you all. Be safe. Be well. Be involved. Be a Rotarian.